Ren and Nora have a scene. RWBY gets rebooted and has a scene. It's terrible. Qrow is in End Ironwood mode, and then Penny. Penny, the character that definitely should have stayed dead all the way back in Volume 3. Oh, God. You know, when you think peak stupidity's been reached with RWBY, no, they hand you something even worse. Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have it better tomorrow. RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 11. Oh, God. You want to talk about, like, not knowing where to go? The writers clearly have no idea where they're going with this volume. And this chapter, if the ones prior to this didn't tell you this one definitely tells you this. It's horrible. I mean, you start by seeing Atlas and Mantle both, you know, people obviously in hiding, the weird Geoff Ramsey looking guy who's trying to be Mr. Self-Insert and have like small little clips here and there, which I don't even know why they focus on this character, and he looks so just out of place in RWBY. And then the Grimm are back. Yeah, no, seriously, the Grimm are here. Like, what? I don't understand how the Grimm are here. And you just see them flying around all over the place. And the reason why I say this is, when you think about the last chapter before this one, okay, there was a complete grand nuke, alright? And then the Grimm are just here. I mean, you see them all get completely eviscerated. Like, I mean, they were all just destroyed. And then, magically, all the Grimm are just kind of back, despite the fact that they had just blown up into oblivion. Like, they're just gone. And then, next thing you know, hey, look, yeah, they're all back. Like, they shouldn't be there. Like, they shouldn't. Also, if you notice, the flying Barangles are finally back, which were the flying apes, right? Yeah, they're finally there. Where were they whenever they should have been at the front lines, because they were going from Volume 6 to, Volume 7. They should have been there, like, at the end. Like, I don't understand why they took so long with that. Then there is the Aesops and Ironwood. So let's go ahead and talk about this whole thing. So Ironwood has told them to, hey, yeah, just unload the cargo, put the bomb in Mantle. And Marrow starts to completely go off. And he questions their morality, as well as Ironwood's thinking, oh, you can't be serious. But for him to question everyone's morality, here's the funny thing, okay? Before this, he knew what Ironwood was going to do. And not only that, but when you think about how he knew what Ironwood was going to do, if you look at the message that Ironwood has out there, you can't tell me that he didn't have help with this. With the camera angles, with the lighting, there's no way he didn't have a production staff there to help him. Like, there's no way. Like, there's no way Ironwood could have done that by himself. And the only people who could have possibly been there to help him would have been the Aesops in Winter. So there is no way that he just did all that by himself. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Marrow also makes a joke about his rank being a collar, because he's dog faunus. Get it? Really stupid. But then Ironwood decides he's going to take Marrow out Old Yeller style. And then that is prevented because Winter comes in and punches Marrow in the face, which I kind of found that to be a bit funny, actually. I've got to be real. I thought it was kind of funny when she went in there and punched Marrow in the face. Marrow, to me, has become so unbearable as a character. And so to see Winter come in there and punch him, that was kind of funny. And Winter also does her job better than the Aesops, because clearly she shows them how you arrest somebody. Because you look at what happened with Penny and how they couldn't even arrest Penny, which that was their job, because they worked at the speed of a turtle trying to arrest Penny. But then when it comes to Winter arresting Marrow, oh no, it's fine, because, gotta be stupid for the sake of the plot whenever it comes to protagonist characters. But then when it comes to, someone like the Aesops or anyone that opposes the protagonist, then, it all works out. I mean, to me, it was just really, really dumb. I thought it was stupid. And speaking of stupid, did anyone notice how Ironwood was just like, yeah, I'll trust Winter to arrest Marrow when, she's the one who let Team Yabby go after they got caught by them, but, like, she just let him go? Like, why would he trust her with that job whenever Winter is obviously going to let Marrow go? I mean, why? See, this doesn't make any sense to me. And the other thing that the Aesops need to really have done, which they're not going to do, obviously, but they need to go into a backstory between the Aesops and Ironwood, to show why they're so loyal to him. When we don't have any reason behind that. We just know that, oh, well, we work for him, so we're loyal because it's our job. It could be more than that, but, the writers clearly are afraid of backstory, so they don't want to go into that. And I don't expect them to make a backstory about that. But Marrow's entire message of trying to say, hey, I'm going to question everybody's morality here working with Ironwood because he's going to destroy the entire city of Mantle. I mean, yeah, terrible strategy in the first place because, Ironwood's trying to force Penny out so that he can get her to open the vault. But the thing is that this is just stupid. This is just a stupid strategy overall. And really, really dumb. It really is. And then you have him also questioning their morality whenever he is as much to blame as they are. So, yeah, Marrow, kind of dumb. He's just dumb. And he cuts off Elm from saying what she was going to say whenever it seems like all of them are kind of questioning everything anyways. I mean, it was pretty bad. It really was. But here's where it gets worse, okay? Like, the Nora and Ren scene. Let's talk about this. Because it seems like they direct, like, that Ren was the problem here, that he was the issue, which the only thing that Ren did, which he was separate from Nora throughout basically the volume, but what he did was be the voice of the audience. He did a good thing whenever he told Yang and Jaune off, mostly Yang though, but that was great. That moment, I loved that moment. That was one of the best moments, and I gotta say, yes, that is definitely a seal of approval by me. But it's like they try to make Ren feel guilty? Like, for what? Like, what did he do? I feel bad for Ren, if anything. I feel like they're just treating him awful because he thinks differently. So they're like, it's your fault, Ren, because you thought differently. How dare you have wrong think? It's just so stupid. I did not like this. I did not like they tried to blame Ren here. I didn't think it was good at all. And also, I just want to talk about the terrible forced humor here. Because Soy Boy Limp Dick Beta Cuck tries to create this whole, like, oh, funny, ha, kind of, like, joke. And over here, like, ugh, get him out. Get him out. Let him die during this fight or something that's about to come up, please. Because he needs to go. Oh, man. And he's more of a problem. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. Because, I mean, God, it's terrible. So, with this whole entire thing between Ren and Nora, though, it's so bad. I don't like it. The one thing that I really don't like about this, though, which is a whole big thing they brought up before Volume 7, where they were talking about how they were going to go into Nora's backstory, right? And you think, oh, okay, why? Because it's not even needed. And she talks about how Ren was the one who found her after her mom abandoned her from the Grim. Does anybody see what a problem this is? Like, this is a severe problem. And here's why. Nora, when did your mom abandon you? When and where? I would love to know this moment. Because when we saw Nora in Volume 4, in the backstory, okay, she was an orphan child. She was an orphan who was getting bullied by kids in the street of the town that Ren was from. See, this is a problem. Like, where was her mom? There was no mention of Nora's mom at all whatsoever. See, this leads you to think two different things then, because they don't show you anything, and they don't tell you the time of the events. So it's either A, Nora was from another village, and her mom just abandoned her during a grim attack on that village, or B, it's after this attack, which that wouldn't make any sense then if it was after the attack on Ren's village. So, see, this is what I mean. You have to show this stuff, or you at least have to say, hey, before I came to your village, my mom abandoned me in the one that I was from. See, that could have actually worked, but this doesn't work. So it could be implied that she could have been from this village, or it could have been implied that she was from another one. See, this is the issue that they now have surfaced because they don't tell you where or when it's from. This is what I mean by the writing is just so awful, because it's like, oh look, there's no implication of her mother before this, so when could it be then? When could it really be? I mean, it's awful. And then you have this scene with Ren and Nora, which, let me also bring this up. Back in Volume 4, it was implied that they could have gotten together. Still implied they could have. And then, of course, Volume 7, they actually had their kiss moment. Well, now Nora has decided that she's not going to get with Ren because she needs to discover herself. When these two characters are like a package deal. If you don't have Ren, you don't have Nora. It's like that. these characters grew up together. You know, they were orphans together and grew up together. And, you know, they're like, hey, you know, we bring out the best in each other. But then it's like, yeah, you know, with the whole I love you scene when Ren tells her that. And then the next thing you know, she's just like, no, 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 you know, we're not going to get together because I need to discover myself. Like, oh, it's so bad. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this whole entire bit right here was Kiersey's writing, because Kiersey, Eddie, and Miles wrote this chapter, which is miserable. So wouldn't be surprised. But oh, you know, it gets much worse because then we have Team RWBY, and oh boy, we all know it gets worse. Because if it's Team RWBY, well, prepare yourself because here's where the salt comes in. So with Team RWBY, because everybody knew this is going to be the scene, but it's going to be the worst part of the episode. Yeah, they all don't know what they're supposed to do. They all question it. You have everybody going after Emerald, which I feel bad for Emerald on that one. Like, no reason for it. And Blake, let me just bring something up about Blake real fast before we get to Oscar. Blake cares more about Qrow being captured by Ironwood than RWBY or Yang. The useless one cares more about Qrow than the ones who are actually related to him. Oh, this is so pathetic. But Oscar, I'll give him credit. At least Oscar was the one who was trying to be the voice of reason. I mean, good on Oscar. While I may not like his character, he's not as unbearable as Team RWBY, in my opinion. Like, he's still better than they are. And RWBY finally has her breakdown moment again because, you know, she has to have this when they could have clearly had her have an issue about the whole thing with the Hound and how it was a silver-eyed warrior, and now they finally go into this. Like, this conversation is so forced and rushed. It's so abysmal. The first thing I question is, why didn't RWBY just bring this up from the start? You know, why didn't she just bring this up, like, last chapter? You know, like, why didn't this, like, even get talked about or discussed? I don't understand why it had to be now, when she freaks out and just runs out of the room. Like, couldn't have been the moment that it happened in that chapter whenever she finally discovered that the Hound was a silver-eyed warrior and that they took down the Hound. I mean, like, I don't know why it took so long for this to come up. Don't know why it didn't just happen, like, last chapter even. You know, when Yang came in there, like, if you'd seen RWBY crying on the stairs at that moment, and then Yang went to talk to her, and then this conversation happened, it would have been better. Not great, but it would have been better. But this is just terrible. Also, the Grim Hound being, you know, a silver-eyed warrior, what would have been a better plot twist, in my opinion, is if the Grim Hound actually was Summer. That would have been a better plot twist. Like, instead of some random faunus that nobody even knows who it is. You know what I mean? Like, this would have been a better plot twist at that moment to have it happen then and there. Because then this would have triggered RWBY to not know what to do. As opposed to, you know, the Grim Hound and what happened. Like, would have been totally different, and it would have been a better reveal, and the Hound probably could have lived a little longer. I mean, it would have been interesting. Also, this conversation feels forced because of, you know, just bringing up Summer out of nowhere. Just like, oh, yeah, let's talk about Summer. Like, it feels so forced and rushed there, as well as talking about Minity, as well as going back to Summer again because, oh, she takes risks. And RWBY's character, let me also bring this up. RWBY's character is so bad here because it's like they keep resetting her. You go back to a chapter ago when Yang was talking to them over the scroll. Oh, yeah, RWBY's fine. She's perfectly fine. And then whenever they run into her at the manor, oh, RWBY's just happy, glad to see her sister, you know, hugging everybody as well as Yang. Like, seriously, RWBY's been reset so much just this volume alone, it makes Ash Ketchum's resets look like they never happen ever. And it took him 22 years to become the Pokemon champion, thank you. I mean, seriously, his resets are not even half as bad as RWBY's already happening like 3 different times within one volume. Also, the Yang crying scene, yeah, you want me to tell you what I thought about that? Yeah, this is exactly what I thought about that. This scene was so comical to me because this feels like it just came out of nowhere. Like, I love how it's like out of nowhere, finally Yang then starts to worry about Summer. She finally starts to care when, what did she care about? Raven. You know, this was always RWBY's thing. This was not Yang's thing. So for Yang to just break down crying here, it just made no sense. It did not add up to me. It just sounded horrible. Like, this whole conversation also just doesn't work. Like, they're trying to go for a sister dynamic, but RWBY and Yang just act like they don't have any chemistry. Like they're just getting to know each other for the first time when they grew up together. You know, like it's horrible. Like the idea of these characters actually being sisters, like with the direction they've taken it over the years, is just abysmal. Like it's so very bad. Like these characters would have been better off had they not been sisters. Like what would have given a better vibe here is if they had maybe some heart-to-heart moments with one another here to make it feel more like they are sisters, because this conversation, as I said, this could have worked between anyone, especially the part where it's like, oh, Summer took risk. Well, you know, you could have had Weiss say that, you could have had Blake say that, or Oscar. Like, this still could have been anybody else saying this. I mean, like, you look at the dynamic between Weiss and Winter, you do get that heart-to-heart between these two characters as if they actually are real siblings, and as much as I hate Volume 7, this scene was at least tolerable. As much as I don't like Volume 7, this scene made me at least feel like Winter and Weiss were sisters. You know, like they had actually grown up together. Like they had a sibling bond as opposed to RWBY and Yang, which I do not get that from them anytime that I think about it. Now, with Qrow and Robin Hillary Clinton, oh my dear God, I hate this scene so much. Okay, so first off, can anybody see the problem here? Does anybody realize what the problem is once Qrow and Robin have already escaped? Yeah, these lockers are not locked. They can just access weapons at any time. Like, you would think that considering that this is supposed to be, I don't know, a military base, wouldn't you think that the lockers would still be locked so that if in case somebody were to try to take weapons, you know, they'd make sure that they didn't just grab them? Like, that's my first problem with this scene. It's already terrible. Also, you have them being able to just mess with the cameras to where it looks like they're just on replay. Like, okay, so either A, somebody knows how to do that, or B, somebody's a hacker, and it's almost like everybody at this point's a hacker. Don't care for it. But while they're trying to get around, Qrow is on one setting and one setting alone, and that is kill Ironwood. Like, seriously, it's like now they've taken this character that has basically been dead ever since Volume 7, because he's not the same character. Yeah, they basically just put him on one setting, and I just cannot stand him. And then Robin Hillary Clinton tries to tell him, oh, well, you were great. You did good. You're better than Clover because you fought for the right reason. Oh, okay. Does anybody know why I hate this scene so much? And one thing, I guess, I absolutely despise this scene also. Let me explain. Robin Hillary Clinton is so damn awful as a character. She caused the whole entire fight between Clover to happen between her, when she got knocked out at the beginning of it, crashed the airship, and then Tyrion got away, and Qrow fought Clover, and then Qrow teamed up with Tyrion. Like, he teamed up with Tyrion. Basically Salem in his technical sense when you think about it, because Tyrion works for Salem, and then killed Clover. So apparently, Qrow's in the right for killing Clover. Like, what? How? Like, how? It's so abysmal. The other problem with the show is the fact that it tries to tell you who's right and who's wrong, who you should like and who you should not like. This is the problem that the show continues to try to tell you, that there's only two sides. One is right and one is wrong, and you should only like the one that's right, you should hate the one that's wrong. Like, it's so terrible. And I'm going to get more into that in a moment, but this whole scene was just abysmal. It was, oh God, it was so bad. But then Penny. Oh, okay, let's talk about this. So Penny's hacked, obviously. We know that she's got a virus in her that's going to make her basically betray everybody. So you have Team RWBY and the rest of them trying to jump in to save her. And they had an interesting strategy. One thing to note, though, how did the gravity glyph not affect RWBY as well? Like, she was in it. I don't know how she wasn't getting pulled to the ground like Penny, but whatever. And so they have a solution. Oh, what's the solution? Amplify her aura, because that can take care of a virus, apparently. I'm not even kidding. This is an actual scene. It is so terrible. Like, Jaune is so bad. Like, whenever he could have actually said something last chapter with Emerald, right? Whenever he could have brought up about what happened with Pyrrha and how she'd put her through suffering, doesn't do it. And now he's just making other characters around him suffer. Like, when you look at it, he's taking away from the development that Penny could have had, because Penny was supposed to be struggling with this, right? Struggling with herself because of this virus. And now that Jaune's there, he's just like, oh, look, I have Jesus powers. I can make things better. And it's like, what? Like at this point, you either A, write him off or kill him, which I'm to the favor of killing him because I hate Jaune's character. But my point is that Jaune, he's a hindrance. He's not good, like, at all. He is a problem. And to take away from the suspense, which by the way, it wasn't much suspense or tension, but to try to take away from that makes it worse. And it was already bad suspense and tension. Like, it was boring. Like, I was just like, eh. But like, this is terrible. And what Penny was struggling with Nora, when Nora was telling her, oh, what's a part of you, you can do it, you'll be fine. Yeah, it just takes away from that development that Penny was going through. Like, seriously, this is what I mean by characters around suffer. I mean, and this is what happens with Team RWBY in general. When they come around, they just destroy everything. Like, they're the true antagonists of the show. We're watching the real villains. We're not watching the heroes. We're watching the real villains of the show. And Jaune, just as a character, like, oh, he's so awful. But then, like, you look at Emerald, and Emerald says one thing that is just awful. And she's just over here like, oh, yeah, guys, like, I just switched sides. How could you all try to give up whenever I am all for you? I want to cheer and be on your side. Like, seriously. This is a severe problem that she would say that, because this is not supposed to be about, like, sides, right? Like, that sounds like something you would say, like, outside of the show, rather than inside of it. But, like, for her to say that, oh, I just switched sides, meaning that the show is black and white. There is no morally gray. It's just good or evil, and that's it. It tells you who you should and should not root for. This is what I mean by this is a severe problem with the show. And with her saying this is a horrible line, and this is something that should not have been said. She should have been somebody that should be conflicted right now on where she should be, because just watch Hazel die. She's realizing how bad Cinder is, but, like, she should be on the standby because it's like, oh, I don't know if I should trust him, especially with how Yang was treating her earlier and everybody else. Like, I don't see why it wouldn't just make her decide to try to run away eventually. But, like, there should be this idea of Emerald maybe wanting to do her own thing, maybe not even joining Team RWBY, maybe not even going back to Salem's side, or even Cinder. Just instead leave to do her own thing that she wants to do, like her own goals or dreams, But rather, they just are like, hey, you got to have the whole perspective of, oh, it's either good or evil. There is no morally gray. It's like, oh, of course, this is what the show tries to tell you. Ozpin also comes back to talk about risk, like through like an old, fairy tale story, and also talking about trust, which, when you think about it, Team RWBY didn't even trust Whitley. Whitley, a kid who was innocent, who didn't do anything wrong, but yet they couldn't even trust Whitley. I mean, Weiss put a blade in his face. Oh, man. Seriously. Oh, it's so bad. And then RWBY comes up with an idea of how, oh, we need to go to the vault. We need to take Penny there. And that's going to result in the one thing that I'm thinking is going to happen, which they're probably just going to kill Ironwood. Hate to say it, but I feel like that's where they're going with this. Because, when a character goes evil, they can't just try to help them. No. And it couldn't be just for their own reasons. No, they gotta be evil. And then there's the scene with Cinder and Watts is hacking an Atlas bot. And, yeah, I would have preferred this whole episode just to be about Cinder, Watts, and Neo. I definitely would have preferred them. Like, because when I saw the protagonist, it was terrible. But I want to talk about Neo for a second, because she just puts her umbrella up as if she's going to attack. Neo's never been one, besides Volume 7, obviously, to put her weapon up as if she's like, oh, I'm going to attack you right now. Like, she's usually just kind of held her umbrella over her side, and then she takes the umbrella and just points it out like she's going to fight, like she did last volume. I don't know why they're doing that, especially considering that Neo herself, she's worked alongside Cinder. Now, of course, her betraying Cinder, I mean, I don't think anyone's surprised, because people were like, oh, I want to see it happen. But, thing is that she just immediately comes to the idea of just attacking Cinder rather than, oh, you have something you owe me. Well, then what does she owe her if she's just going to attack her? It's really dumb. If Neo could speak, they would make her say the stupidest shit. I'm glad that she doesn't speak because of that. But I would have rather seen Cinder and Neo and even Watts. But yeah. So this chapter overall is just a mess. It is horrible. Talk about a complete and utter dumpster fire. That's what this is. This whole thing's a mess. It's so bad because, like, you have the whole Ren and Nora stuff, which they retcon the backstory because it's just like, hey, look, the mom, Where was her mom? She was not at all in Volume 4. Where was her mom? Like, see, that was dumb as hell. So they had to do that, and then they don't even have Ren and Nora get together. That doesn't bother me so much, but it's the fact that in the past they've really led the idea on. And to have Nora discover herself, like, I just think that's stupid. Considering that her and Ren are just basically a package deal. Not only that, but the RWBY and Yang conversation is atrocious. That is just terrible. Like I said, you could have just switched out Yang with anybody, and it would have been the same conversation. It wouldn't have been any different. And then, you have just like the forced talk about Summer, though. Like, it was so forced in that conversation. Like, it was so bad. Oh, is it so bad? And then Ruby's just so afraid of taking risks, feeling like giving up. Like, they've rebooted her character so many times already in this volume. It's absolutely insane. Like, ugh. The writing's so inconsistent and the retcons are so real, it's so bad. Like, this writing is terrible. You can definitely tell they don't know where they're going with this. And also, with Marrow's an idiot. I think they continued to prove that. I mean, he's no different than the other Aesops. He's also to blame as much as they all are, as well as Winter. So there's that. Ironwood, of course, you can clearly see they're not going to make him a redeemable character, and I can't stand that because, it shouldn't be viewed that way. But then again, his plan is stupid in the first place, which his semblance is stupid. So there's that. But they just completely throw him under the bus. Oh, they're giving him the Adam treatment, and it sucks to see. And I don't like it. The penny scene. I hate the penny scene so much. It's so bad. Jaune is just terrible for any character's health at this point. Like, they need to write him off or they need to kill him. Like, that's to the point we're at with Jaune. But, like, Penny should just never have come back. Like, and this continues to prove that she just should never have come back and should have just stayed dead in Volume 3. Bringing her back was already a colossal mistake. Like, God, I can't stand it. And now, like, the struggle she was going through, Jaune basically just strips that away. Like, the development there that she was going through was struggling because of the virus. Like, yeah, now it's gone. Like, it's so awful. It's so abysmal. And I hate it. I really do. Like, this chapter is just so bad. Like, I just wanted it to end. I'll be real with you. When I saw Team RWBY, like, that moment, I was like, I want it to end. Emerald saying that she's switching sides, you don't say that. Like, that line is just dumb. It's like, oh yeah, there's only good and bad. Like, the audience basically knew there was only good and bad. There was no morally gray. Like, and now that just points it out even further. Like, it just sticks out like a red dot on a blank piece of paper. Oh, man. It's so bad. Oh, man. See, this is what I mean. RWBY is a mess. It's just going all over the place. They don't know what they're doing. The writers are just like, yeah, sure, we'll write whatever. That sounds fine, which it's not. Oh, this chapter is terrible. And then Neo, Cinder, and Watts next chapter, more than likely. Oh, I just am anticipating what they're going to ruin out of that as well. I just want this volume to be over with. But anyways, let me know what you think about this chapter down below. Subscribe to the channel if you were new here. Make sure you were still subscribed because YouTube is unsubscribing people from all their favorite channels. So make sure you were still subscribed to all your favorite channels. Hit the video with a like and also be sure to share the video on social media. Spread the word and get it out there. It's greatly appreciated and it really helps out the channel a lot. Also be sure to follow me on Discord. We have a wonderful community there. Not only that, but it will keep you up to date on when the newest videos will be released as well as any other upcoming events in the near future. So be sure to follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow can always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you. And have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.